All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Simple Sports back again with my second episode of the day. Surprise, surprise. Going to be talking about the Titans Colts game just wrapped up. Titans got the win, 36-22, the final score. And well, I have mixed emotions about the game for starters. I just want to talk about it really quick. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I do want to talk about it for about 5 to 10 minutes or so. So here we go. So yeah, they got the win, huge win. They're now tied, three-way tie with them, Jacksonville and Houston, atop the AFC South. Um, they would, I guess, technically be in second place. Are the Jags 3-3? Are the Texans? No, they have well, they're tied atop the division. So I guess third or second in the division, given records and tiebreakers. But anyway, whatever. Point being, they just wrapped up the game. As I said, I got mixed emotions. I want to start off with this. I'll tell you this much. Two things that I saw right off the bat, or that you can conclude right off the bat. First thing is, the Titans looked in the first half like the Titans have looked for the last, say, 10 years. Mediocre, lackadaisical, pretty bad on defense. Yeah, on offense, couldn't score touchdowns. Definitely moved the ball well. They've done that for a couple of years. They would move the ball, and then they would just kind of stall out after maybe a first down or two. Same thing on defense. They looked like they were playing prevent defense. People were running wide open, and they were getting gashed in the run game early on. Really, the entire first half, and then they went in the second half. Really, the third quarter was a lot of the same, but better. And then they came out in the fourth quarter and went, they put the game away, which was nice to see. So that's the first thing I learned. First half, they looked pretty stagnant, pretty boring. Couldn't really throw the ball, couldn't really run the ball. Not for big plays. A couple of key first downs, but again, they just stalled. The drive just stalled. A lot of hits on Mariota tonight, which kind of expected, especially given him being immobile, or a lot less mobile than he usually is anyway. A couple of late hits. I think there were 3 roughing the passers on the Colts. I know the Titans had 1 or 2. I think they just had 1. I think the Colts had 3 or 4. Like, they had quite a few. So they were definitely coming after him. He made a couple of big throws. The throw to Taylor for the touchdown towards the end of the game to put them up was a big-time throw. He made a couple of really big key throws. And I'll tell you what, I was watching one of the videos, I think against the Seahawks, where he made 2 huge throws to one to Decker and one to Walker later in the game. Identical routes. It looked like cover 2 man. And he threw an out route, which anyone that's played football, especially if you play DB or receiver, knows that the out route, while that route itself is a fairly simple, straightforward route, that throw is difficult, especially if you're talking about from the middle or from the opposite hash mark. Like, that is a long throw. He made 2 of those in that game, and he made a couple of throws tonight's game that were really, really impressive, that I really liked. Second thing I learned, let me get to that, was if the Titans can play for the rest of the season like they did in the second half tonight, man, they are going to be a really, really tough out, because it goes 19 to, I think the score was 19-12 at halftime. Might have been 19-9. I don't remember exactly. And then the Colts, for the remainder of the game, they start the second half with 3 straight 3-and-outs and then a fumble. And they ended up scoring 3 points for the entire half. And the Titans obviously exploded offensively in the second half. Big time second half performance. If they can play like that, they're going to be tough to deal with. And they ran the ball really well. They were great offensively the entire night. Mariota was 23 of 32 for 306. Henry ran for $131. Murray gave you another 40. I think he was hurt. He looked like he was a little banged up. Couldn't really run at top speed. Although he's not necessarily a blazing fast running back, but he definitely didn't look to be 100% tonight. Decker had a big game, 7 catches, 88 yards, and then Rashard Matthews, I really like. I don't want to say I didn't like the signing when they signed him, because I did like it. I hadn't really followed him at all, so I wasn't too sure like how good he was. He is a really, really solid receiver, and Decker is obviously a pretty good receiver. Taywan Taylor is, our little gadget guy, our little version of Darren Sproles or like a Tyreek Hill. He can be pretty explosive if they get the ball to him. Corey Davis will be coming back, I hope, next week. He looked pretty good through his first couple of games, although he didn't get that many targets, but the ones that he did get, he came down with, which was nice to see. So I hope that he can come back and contribute. But, man, I'm pretty impressed with the second half. Not so impressed with the first half. As I said, as Mariota gets healthy, a lot of that had to do with the fact that he couldn't really run around that much. So I get it. But it was nice to see him stand in the pocket and make some big throws, because I was a little worried a couple of times. He made some. I don't know. It's hard to say, but some of them looked like throwaways. 2 or 3 of them that were like way overthrown or way underthrown or out of bounds. They looked like throwaways. It didn't look like he was trying to hit anyone. So he looked really impressive as a pocket passer. I liked it. He's definitely accurate. That's one thing I do like. He doesn't make a lot of bad throws as far as just missing a guy. Now, if you're talking about schematics and making the right reads and stuff like that, that could be a different story. But in terms of him being an accurate thrower of the football, putting it where it needs to be, he is pretty good at that. He throws a nice tight spiral. And like I said, he doesn't make a lot of terrible, as far as literally inaccurate throws, which is nice. So I was really impressed with Mariota, really impressed with the running game. The defense, boy, they need some work. Logan Ryan finally decided to show up as a nice big corner that we've been needing. Adoree Jackson looked really good in coverage, and one thing he I guess I shouldn't say underrated, but one of the things I like about him is I don't know if he's a shutdown corner. It's obviously hard to say because he's a rookie, and he's not even halfway through the season yet, so that's yet to be determined. But he's definitely a very active corner. He's not afraid to come up and make tackles, and he's a really sure tackler, which is really nice, especially looking at him because he doesn't look to be that big. I don't know what his I guess physical attributes actually are. He doesn't appear to be that big of a guy. Seems a little bit on the smaller side, but he's definitely quick and agile and can move and control his body really well. And as a corner, that's obviously one of the key components. But he's really good in coverage. I don't know, maybe not really good, because that sounds more like, shutdown level. But he's good in coverage. He's a sure tackler, and I like that. And he's also explosive. He had a big opening kickoff return, which it didn't amount to anything, but the threat is there, and that's something that could be very, very useful, especially later in the season. Maybe you're struggling in the game, he breaks off a punt or a kick for a touchdown. That could be huge. So really, really, really impressed with him. Really impressed with Mariota tonight. The defense I'm still shaky on. Offensively, I think they looked okay. Especially given the limitations of Mariota. Some questionable play calling for sure. There was a couple of times where I was like, what is this? But for the most part, not bad. I was a little critical of them on Twitter, if anyone was out there actually watching. But overall, nice solid win. And I won't back down off of what I said. Now, I know obviously I'm a fan of the team. So I will accept that criticism wholeheartedly. But I legitimately think that by the time they face the Texans, they could be 8-3. They're 3-3 now. They get the Browns, which I think 4-3. Ravens 5-3, I think. Bengals and the Steelers are the two I question, but I'm going to give it to them 6-3 and 7-3, and then they get at Indy again, and that could be 8-3. I think worst case scenario, they're 8-3, maybe 7-4, but I think they could be 8-3. I really, really do. Just looking at that schedule, and then they get the Texans, which I think I'm hoping, as a Titans fan, that they win that game, which will make them 9-3. And then they get the Cardinals, Niners, Rams, and the Jags. Boy, I mean, I think 11-5 is really, really possible. Looking at this team, looking at their record currently, and looking at their looking at the rest of the schedule. Again, they have about a 6-game stretch that I think they should win all of those games. The only one that I think is questionable is the Steelers game. But the Steelers look to be in disarray. Although they did beat the Chiefs yesterday. But as I said in my earlier video, I don't buy the Chiefs. Therefore, I don't buy the Steelers either. The problem is I think the Steelers are still talent-wise better than the Titans. The question is, how do they put that together when they face them? So we'll see. But I think it's a realistic chance that they could do it. Colts, Browns, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Colts. Like, none of those teams scare me. If you'd have said, even going into the season, I would have said, well, the Ravens, Bengals, and Steelers scare me a little bit. And in fact, I think that did that when we were talking about the potential division winners and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that. But given what's taken course over the season thus far, they don't scare me. Now, I'm not saying that those are guaranteed wins by any stretch, but they don't scare me. I think they're all winnable games. That's what I'm trying to say. Colts, Browns, Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Colts again. That's 6 winnable games for the Titans. 3 on the road, 3 at home. Pretty balanced out. And then they get 3 home games and 2 off games to close out the season. So, I think it's real. The Texans game is at home, so I think that's a realistic chance to win. We'll see what the Cardinals look like in a couple of weeks with AP in there. See how that changes things for them. The Niners fight hard, but they don't. Quarterback situation isn't up to par. The Rams look really good. One of my preseason sleepers. The Jags, I don't buy the Jags as a solid team. I think they've just. I think they've played some really good circumstantial football. And by that, I mean, I think they've played some not so great teams. And I think the season opener against the Texans was an anomaly. It was season opener, and they had Tom Savage as quarterback. So I don't particularly buy that one. Now, the blowout, sure, but still, I don't buy them. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Once again, I'm impressed. Well, I'm impressed by certain players and certain components of the game. I don't want to say I'm impressed, quote unquote, by the entire performance because, again, defense looked a little skeptical. But they pulled out the W, and that's what matters. I love it. It's really, really nice to finally be listen, for us to even be 500 right now as a Titans fan, like, imagine if the Browns this year won 7 games. Didn't make the playoffs, weren't even close, but they won 7 games. Like, you know how happy they would be? It's the same for Titans fans. Like, Titans fans are the same way. We haven't had this long, history of success. So, after starting the season, 1-4 or 2-5 for the last couple of years, and just being like, man, like, you don't even want to watch. So, I'm pretty happy. 3-3 with a chance to really start to take off and mold this team together. I'm pretty happy. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here. It's been Simple Sports. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.